Special budget session of the Grant County Council will order. The recess has ended. And if you could do the roll call, please.
Scott.
Here.
Connor.
Here.
Here.
Perez.
Prez did say he would be a little late.
Pulling.
Here.
Fleming.
Here.
Middlesworth.
Here, we have a quorum. Do you have anything to add to the order?
Yeah, you do have your activity 4Ds and any additional sheets. Probably need there. So we have working for goods department, and there is a updated health insurance sheet that I laid there. That was the last sheet is. health insurance.
Yes.
Yeah, health insurance budget.
Mr. McCord, do you have anything you'd like to add for the good of the order?
I have nothing to add this evening, unless you guys have questions for me. Nothing new from me.
Are there any questions from the members?
You mentioned the health insurance piece later on at the special meeting in October, so we can wait till then, that's fine.
We set a date for that?
Yes,
We have, right?
yes.
Okay.
It's the second.
First Wednesday in October, where is that date?
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll go over the budget goals just so we're all refreshed from last evening. This council has budget goals, and one of them is to adopt a reasonable budget, one that meets our needs and minimizes the needs for additional appropriations, have reasonable wages and benefits for our employees, and maintain a reasonable operating balance for each of our funds. And reasonable would be 10% of the fund's budget. We will go through each department as they come before us. We will listen to all the requests that they bring, including personnel. However, the items we will be acting upon this evening will be the non-personnel items. We will address personnel raises and additional position requests at the end of the total budget process, which would be in that special meeting. However, as you come before us this evening, please start with your personnel request. And we'll get started. The first budget before us this evening is the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Good evening.
I am here to present the budget for the Visitor and Convention Bureau. As a reminder, this is a collect and remit tax. This is funded through innkeeper's tax. So it's kind of like a pass-through sort of fund. A couple line items we're asking to raise our salaries. About $5,000. We're looking to hire 2 part-time people to come on board. As of right now, it is just me, and that is a lot to do. In addition, we're looking to raise our attraction development budget. We are hoping to partner with the Marion History Museum that's out of the library right now to work on kind of a refresh of some Marion history, and that would be a new partnership. And the last line item would be our advertising. We're looking to raise that as well, as we've seen a huge difference in our social media paid ads. Other than that, everything is pretty much the same.
Are there any questions regarding 1127, the Convention and Visitors Bureau budget? Was there supposed to be a salary sheet in there? Never.
You said you wanted to raise the attraction development sheet?
Right now it's the same. I'll probably be coming back before you when we get some additional funding.
Threw me off there because I thought they were the same.
Yep.
All right, gotcha.
Looks like there's a fund balance. Is it something to take care of now so you don't have to come back?
If I'm allowed to. I'm
How
happy
much
to.
are you thinking you need to increase?
I'd like to increase that by about 5,000 if possible. And it looks like that might be available there.
And you're comfortable with that, I assume?
Angie, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Are there any questions from the members? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, regarding the Convention Visitors Bureau Fund 1127, I move to approve Category 2 as presented. Category 3 as presented with the following change: increase attractions development from $85,000 to $90,000.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve within 1127 categories 2 and 3, noting the change in 3 to attractions and development to 90,000. Are there any other questions from the members?
We normally just approve the full budget, all categories.
We can. We'll go ahead and, since we already have a motion and a second, we'll come back and change it, so I'll have to, okay. Good catch, though. If there's no other questions, public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now I'd entertain a motion for the category 1.
Mr. President, I move to approve Category 1 for Convention Visitors Bureau as presented.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Connor to approve within the Convention and Visitors Bureau category 1 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, just for the record, the fund balance as of 6/30 is $532,322. The next budget before us this evening is weights and measures. Mr. Ford.
Hello.
Good evening.
Presenting the budget request for 2025, and it is the exact same as this past year, which was $300 less than the year before.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the weights and measures budget? I would like to, we had a little bit of conversation about, the electric charging, the testing equipment.
Yes.
Is that in the near future or in the distant future?
I think it's in the distant future.
Okay.
We have an annual convention that we're required to attend, and they went through that. That would require a piece of equipment of around $25,000. I don't see, I don't think there's any counties in the state that have their own equipment. I don't think the state has their own equipment at this time. But if the EV mandate were to hold and then there's a high percentage of that, then at some point we're going to have a way of testing those. I kind of anticipate that might be staying with the state for a good bit. So
Okay.
I don't think it's anything we need to plan and anticipate that far ahead.
Okay, appreciate that.
And I never even thought about that you'd have to test that stuff to make sure it's giving you however many kilowatts it purports to be giving you.
Yes.
Just like when you pump your gas, is it really giving you a gallon when it says a gallon?
Yeah, it is a complicated process, and I think the technology for testing it is not quite there yet. They were doing it in a box, and it looked a little shady to me.
I think that's the problem with EVs in general, the technology is not ready across the board, including our infrastructure to generate that much power.
I agree.
Interesting.
If there's no other questions or comments from the members, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the weights and measures budget as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Poland to approve within the weights and measures budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. The next budget before us this evening would be, it's Radiant Health, right? Aaron Blackford. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Stacy Losey. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Radiant Health. Elisa Dominesi, our CEO, is out ill, so she's unable to present this evening, and I will be doing it in her place. Thank you for the previous support you have provided to Radiant Health. It's been a busy year, which will provide you some information. First, Lisa and our team are motivated by one mission: saving lives by making mental health access easy. We're a community mental health center, and over the last few years, we are ramping up to add an additional designation as a certified community behavioral health clinic. This is a new model going across nationally to transform care. While we will continue to be the community mental health center that's really focused on serving individuals that are in need of lifetime care for their mental well-being, we will continue that safety net function for them. However, moving forward, under the Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic, the CCBHC, we will be improving and expanding our access to care for the entire population in our communities. A CCBHC is a specially designated clinic that provides a comprehensive range of mental health and addiction services, and it's required to meet criteria developed by SAMHSA at the federal level and Department of Mental Health and Addiction at the state level. CCBHCs serve all people regardless of diagnosis, insurance status, place of residence, or age. The CCBHC model is a proven outpatient model that ensures access to high-quality behavioral health care, including 24/7 crisis response services. Requires routine outpatient care to occur within 10 days, meets strict criteria regarding access, quality reporting, staffing, and coordinating with social services, justice, and education systems. It receives funding to support the real cost of expanding comprehensive services to fully meet the needs of our individual communities. Our biggest changes in the last 12 months. We have launched same-day care, which means no appointment is needed. Individuals can walk in when in need. There's often a wait, but generally not more than 2.5 hours. This is down from previously where it took 6 to 8 weeks to get a first appointment. Now people are able to come in, first come, first serve, and be seen within generally that 2.5 hours. Same-day care can be accessed Monday through Friday at our downtown building from 9 to 2. Our south building Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 to 2. And in Hartford City on Wednesdays from 9 to 2. The transformation of crisis services is profound. The pillars of that crisis system is someone to call with 988, someone to respond, which is a mobile team, and a safe place to go, which is our rapid response center. Our mobile response team that runs 24/7 was the second certified location in the state of Indiana. Others are joining, but we were second. We continue to respond to 988 calls successfully. The team on that crisis response includes mental health and addiction trained peers, therapists, and prescribers. To get a general sense of the scope and impact we've had so far this year, there has been 1,926 calls received for that mobile team. Of those calls, 520 mobile crisis responses where our teams went into our community and met individuals where they were in need. 31 lives saved. Those 31 lives, our teams intervened in situations where those individuals had the means and the intent to die by suicide and are alive today as a result of the team's response. The Rapid Response Center is expected to be in full operation by January 1st of 2025. The county's commitment and partnership is important as we work with one another to address the needs of our community in the area of mental well-being and substance use disorder. We respectfully request the council approve the allocation for $486,313 to be awarded to Radiant Health. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Is that a good number, the 486, 313?
Yes,
Okay.
that is the 4%.
Are there any questions from the members?
Well, the changes part of the youth court that was coming our way, the mental health court, when people were,
So the changes we embarked on, we started 4 years ago, and we're right at that threshold now where we're attempting to be certified. It's the national movement really focused in the previous mental health system. There was not generally a 24/7 crisis response into our community. We had an inpatient, people could be seen, but the individuals had to come to us through law enforcement or voluntary. Now with our mobile team, we're meeting in clients' homes, in the park, wherever is needed. So that transformation is part of that model change.
but it has nothing to do with the court then, basically.
We are working with the court system for mental health court and working with law enforcement as well for crisis response. What we have seen is there's been a 76% decrease in law enforcement interactions if individuals are engaged in care. And now that happens more quickly with our crisis response. Dr. Heidi Monroe, which is our Senior Director of Outpatient Clinical Services, is working with the sheriff to create jail treatment. We've started early diversion programs. In our crisis center, we'll have law enforcement specific drop-off to make it easy for our partners.
Are there any other questions from the members? If there are none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion to accept, as presented, the 480,
486, 313.
yep, that one there.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve the 4% growth quota for Radiant Health. The total dollar amounts $486,313. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Yep. Next budget before us this evening will be EMS.
Hi, how are you
Good
tonight?
evening. Excellent.
I only asked for an increase in a couple of line items, so I kind of made out explanation as to why. Thank you. Kind of estimated from last year to this year, the increase in certain items of our medical supplies, the frequently used ones. There's a lot more where that comes from, but these are the ones we use constantly. As you'll see, the EpiPens are ridiculous. There is good news on that front. They have passed a law to pass the Neffy. It's gonna be a device like the Narcan is, a little nose, it's actually, the device is made by the same company that makes the Narcan, the delivery system. They say it's gonna be available this fall. It's gonna be 2 doses for $199, that's good. And you don't have to have pediatric and adult. That'll really ease up. I expect a real backlog, a back order situation when they first come out. But that will help the EpiPen situation, because right now we're spending about $235 or $299 for 2 doses. And that's just, I guess, inflation and, I don't know, corporate greed. Not a lot of it. Moving on, the garage and motors. try to figure out exactly what we've spent so far. I know my expenditures go longer than yours. I think your budget sheets go up to May.
You've spent, 67,200.
With the new ambulances arriving, do you think that you still need the additional there? Or?
I don't know, Shane,
Yeah.
no, we shouldn't for those 4, no.
Yeah.
We've
So-
already had damage to one of the boxes though, minor accident. Poor guy, he was the first one. It's about $500 estimate though, so it's not that bad.
Did doctors pay?
Isn't that awful?
Take a picture, put it up on the wall.
I know, it's gonna be, and he was our employee of the month in July. I know, isn't that awful? I feel so bad for him. They did allow me, I know I talked to Shane and Chuck, out at my office. They did, decide to keep those old trucks for right now and see what we're gonna do with them as opposed to just auctioning. You don't get a lot of money for them. We're planning on making a special operations truck. I know that between, Bobby and I, the diesel, the old one, it's 98. It can run for 12 hours and not use any gas at all. And have it kind of be a response vehicle in that sense to big events, big fires. We had a Roseburg fire, we had the RCA fire. I know that was a long time ago, but things like that. And then we have a possibility of starting 2 new volunteer units. And that would provide them with a truck that we don't have to mess with now, currently. And if we have that 4th one and we don't find a place for it, we can get rid of it. So I only asked for, what I asked for, 10,000 more?
For rough, yes.
Yeah.
110,000.
That's just, that's based on what we had spent so far, and it's kind of unknown when it comes to trucks.
So how many total trucks are
Maybe
there?
14, 14.
14 trucks? And how many do you actually need?
Well, we use 10 right now.
10 plus a spare.
Then we get,
11.
we have kind of a rover, yeah. If we get the 2 new volunteer units start up, sounds favorable right now. We'll have those 2, plus we'll have the special operations truck. And then we would have that 4th one that we may not need.
Yeah. I was just thinking out loud here. I just
Yeah.
wonder if we shouldn't be, just go ahead and placing another order for 4 more trucks with ARPA funds.
We should.
Well, I mean, aren't they like 2017s? When is the rest of the fleet due for
What we'll
replacement?
end up with is 198, 3 11s, 4 18s, and 4 24s.
Which the 98 would go to a potential fall.
The 98's gonna be special operations, it's not gonna respond, it's gonna be certified in case we would have to transport, but it's not gonna be used for that in a general sense.
So after 98, then went to what? What year?
You got 11.
11.
It takes a year to get them though.
Yeah.
Those will be the ones to these 2 new volunteer units, and then possibly the spare that we won't need, really. I just hated to, I already had them decertified and then had them recertified. I didn't wanna do that again until we know for sure.
Can proceed on if you would.
Okay, communications, they just averaged out our cell phone bill and the iPads that we carry on the trucks that we do charts on. They have to have service on them because you obviously don't have Wi-Fi in the truck. It's a little less than I asked for, but those are averages. The iPads are based on gigabytes, so sometimes we use at 190, sometimes we use a little bit more. They all share a certain amount of gigabyte, I think 1, to be honest with you, because they're not used for streaming, but so when you go over, it's high. So that was an average. I asked for a little bit more than that because it's unpredictable. And then the run volume, I was just pointing out that we're higher in runs at this point of the year than we were last year, by a little bit. I don't do math, I don't know percentage.
What was the revenue number we used?
I didn't write that down, and I don't know if you have it.
While she's looking that up, the ALS reimbursement,
ALS reimbursement is what we pay Marion General when they get on board our truck when we need higher level of care.
have they asked for more? Is that
They have not at this point, no. I left that the same, didn't I? Yeah.
4,000 more?
No, I transferred, if you'll recall, I don't know, a couple months ago, I needed more money in overtime.
Oh.
Instead of asking for an additional, I just transferred. I can't say if I'm gonna need it or not, but I didn't wanna ask for an additional letter. I think it was June, maybe?
So
Yeah.
Marion General borrows our ambulances, do they pay us?
No, they did not. That was a gratis.
If we were to use one of their ambulances, would we have to pay them?
I don't know, we've never had to do that.
Well, we need you to ask, tell them we need to use one of their ambulances.
They usually don't have one. I mean, they don't have as many as we do, and they usually don't have a spare. And right now it's $125 a pop when their paramedic gets on our truck. It's not very expensive at all, considering what they're doing.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make.
I know what you're saying. You go ahead and say it. I know what you're saying. That was done November, I think. So they still have it till the end of September. They have a 2018. It's gonna be, it needs a lot of repairs now. There's some body damage and a mud flap damage.
From them using
Yeah, since they've had it.
it? They got tons of money.
Well, they're paying for it. They took out insurance, when they leased it or, borrowed it. It's scheduled to be in the shop, the first week of September. So it will be done when their lease is up at the end of September. It should be done and given back to us, yeah.
Okay.
In '23, the total collection was 873,000. We estimated 750. We did again for this year, 750, and they've collected as of June 30th about 47%. The majority of it does come in later on in the year, so.
No, we were not involved, but we were adjacent to a cyber attack of the clearinghouse that we use called Change Healthcare. It's part of United, so United's a big, major insurance company across the United States, well, probably everywhere. That's who we use. You have to use a clearinghouse to send claims electronically. No other way about it. Change Healthcare experienced a cyber attack in February, I think on the 7th. We were back here. And they shut down everything. So we just went with another clearinghouse. It took us about 2 months to get that because you gotta do enrollments, you gotta change everything. I feel like we're still experiencing growing pains with our collections per month. We're back up to probably gonna be 70 for August, just about back to normal. But it did hurt for a while. Not that we won't get that money eventually. Those claims will still be paid. It's just lagging behind because of that cyber attack. I think that affected, well, United owns our health insurance that the county has and our prescription, Optum Rx, that's also United, so it hurt them.
What is that? Every time we're here, this
It's
It's
an
the
inmate.
ghost of Dawn in the background.
It's an inmate,
Shawshank Redemption,
That's awful.
breaking out.
That's awful.
He's spooning
It's a lot farther than this Cinewall.
And then on salaries, I just asked for, I didn't know what the going trend was or what you were leaning towards. I just asked for 7% across the board. That includes the medical director, Dr. Woods, the part-time, full-time.
Do you feel like that we're competitive as far as, hourly?
Absolutely. In fact, I just hired part-time three, maybe four IU Lifeline, employees that are gonna work for us part-time because it's good pay for them.
It's good to hear.
It's weird.
Coming off a day where we're drastically underpaying, it's encouraging news.
It is, and we've had, I probably have 7 apps in my desk right now. It's going well.
Did you change any recruitment or anything?
Yeah, we pushed it on Facebook, we started a Facebook page, we pushed it on there. We got the word out. And of course, as soon as you guys passed the 19 an hour for EMTs, that went pretty fast too, you know. Now, IU Lifeline pays more per hour for their part-time people because they're not paying benefits, but their full-time people, as well as Marion General, start at less. So you did well. It made a difference.
Most of the people in county, or out of county on the apps?
In, I would say,
That's good.
most in.
Just curious.
Encouraging.
And I know, again, I've talked to Shane and Chuck about a training center or a classroom of any sort, because once we can do an EMT class ourselves again, that'll make a difference too, because we have current volunteers that will take the EMT class and we'll provide that for them at no cost to them. And then they work for us for 2 years, even on our volunteer trucks. And so we'll benefit from an EMT that we trained ourselves. And usually if they're volunteer, they stick around I got some that's been here for 30 years. So it makes a difference doing it yourself. It's hard to ask someone to volunteer or work a day or two a month when they pay $2,500, $3,000 to Ivy Tech to get that certification.
Yeah, I think that's a need that's coming, for sure. And I think all of us have seen, you know, what was burnt and all that, so.
Still working on that too, a year last week.
A year later.
Yeah.
You know, they always say government's slow.
I feel, actually, I never knew in my life how bad it was for someone to have a fire like that. I can't believe how devastating it would be to someone's house, because it didn't burn a lot of stuff, but boy, did it ruin a lot of stuff. Man.
Are there any other questions or comments regarding the EMS budget? If you would, email me the years of your ambulances. Just
I've got one already made up, so I can just send it. It's
Yeah.
gonna have VIN numbers and
That's
certain
fine.
numbers on it, but
That's
yeah,
fine.
sure.
probably part of the asset piece.
To your county one.
Yes, please. If there's no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, regarding EMS, I move to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve within 0301 EMS budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sure.
The next budget before us this evening will be the treasurer's budget. Good evening.
To make this short and sweet, just a couple line items that we increased slightly, one with the travel and conference and the training and education. With me being new and my first deputy being hired last February and a new part-time girl that was hired, the training will be needed. And then slight increases for the first deputy salary and for the basic clerical and then the part-time deputy.
Are there any questions regarding the treasurer's budget requests?
So I know it's early yet, but as far as the tax goes, have you got a plan for that? Are you gonna be using part-time people or
Yeah.
do you have?
We have one girl, we put as an intern, she was the spring deadline. She's, Care Services. We used her, or they used her, and they said she did really well. She will be back.
Okay.
And then, we've got some feelers out for maybe one or two, maybe more, just depending upon how the flow comes in, and if we'll really need more than a couple more during that time.
So Delaney, right, she's been through it a few times.
Yes.
So you have some hands
Yeah.
on there. Okay, gotcha. Just making sure you cover.
Yeah.
If there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 in the treasurer's budget.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve within the treasurer's budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as requested. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. See how easy that was?
It's so easy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
We'll go ahead and do, the next budget would be before us, the EMA. I seen him sitting back there.
Good evening. Before I start, let me say, honestly, I believe I have the best job in Grant County, Grant County government, for sure. I get to help people when they're really having no work, and that's rewarding. I appreciate the opportunity to do that and help support the people of Grant County. And we're trying our best to be good ambassadors and help the county shine wherever we can, wherever we go. With that, packet, hopefully you'll have, I did put together a presentation, and I only want to get just a few highlights for you. Unlike Radiant Health, that has one mission, I have 5, and they're presidential directive, so it's not like I get to pick that. But it makes sense for what we do. So the National Preparedness Goal lays out 5 areas for all EMAs across the country. Preparedness, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery. And we work diligently at that every day, particularly preparedness and the protection part. You know, we're always trying to stay ahead of what's coming at us. You'll see further back in that report that there's a list of threats and hazards we look at every day. We get a report from the state every morning about 7:30 as to what might be coming down the pike at us today. So we look at that, trying to be prepared for what's coming at us. It's usually weather most of the time, although cybersecurity is high on that list. And there again, we're working throughout the county. We have started a cybersecurity committee within the county. Those folks on there, we know our hospitals are vulnerable, county government, all government is vulnerable to that. Our schools have already been hit this year. Marion Community Schools had a cyber attack. And we're also brought industry into that. So we're trying to really be full circle in the people that we bring into that and collaborate. We've broken that out into those different areas. And then once a month, we'll meet in this room right here and bring that in together. And anybody that's having an issue, we try to work together to support everything that's going on in the county. So it is a big deal for us, and anybody that has a computer is probably well aware. So.
How is that getting out, Mr. Jackson?
So we sent invites out. We started with the schools. We already have a school safety committee meets every month. We work with them, so Marion Community Schools actually stepped up. They are the lead person on the cybersecurity committee for all the county schools, even the private schools.
Okay.
Same thing with the hospital in healthcare. They're actually representing all of our long-term care facilities, doctor's offices, those kind of things too. So. So we're really just branching out into industry now because we know that that's a big deal. So school safety, I did mention that, and with the addition of Dr. Jim Willie, we just brought in he's working right currently as a part-time deputy director for us. Jim brings a wealth of knowledge in the area of school safety. That's already proven big dividends for us. The state, they're always pushing down different edicts to all school corporations, so we are the clearinghouse for that. My office is. We report that. We're required to report that back to the state for the schools. And there again, we meet every month with those. So all the school administrators, SROs. We did have even the school nurses in there at one time, but we're going to try to separate that out. The health department's doing a separate meeting with that. So there again, trying to tie people up in meetings that don't need to happen. But Jim's been certainly a breath of fresh air, and we're happy to have him. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about some of the restructuring that we'd like to do because of that. LEPC, we continue to work with all hazmat in the county. Grant County has 79 sites that have to report hazardous materials. Some of them are pretty large. And then, of course, we have the interstate that's everything's going up and down there. We don't know half the time. In fact, we spent 2 hours on the interstate this afternoon. But the LEPC is kind of a big deal for us as well. They also bring money into the county for training, hazardous materials response training. And we just finished up a class last night, as a matter of fact. They took their state test. So there again, we can do all that within the county. I kind of taken that on because of my past experience with hazardous materials. Particularly when it comes to what we call orphan spills. We don't know who the spiller is. A lot of times the county would have to eat that cleanup fund. We started working with IDEM, and they will help me track down those people. Or sometimes we can get the state or the Fed to eat that cost a little bit. A lot of times we have either local tow companies or our local fire departments are putting down materials that's at a cost to them. To the LEPC, we bring them, try to get reimbursement. Actually, we've done very good getting reimbursement. So it doesn't necessarily affect the budget here, but it is affecting the county and those small departments for sure. Last thing I really want to hit in that page was Team CERT. CERT is a national program, community emergency response teams. Marion Community Schools has a GROTC program. They have a new director this year. And he reached out to me and wanted to know if we would be willing to partner with them to create a team. It's called the Team CERT program. And that is so huge. It's unbelievable. Now that I've talked with some other states that are doing that and places that are doing it, that's really an opportunity for us to grow our future leadership. We can get these kids in high school and really instill in them some community involvement, and hopefully they'll stay here. But if they do, wherever they go, they can take that training with them. Sort of a national program, but the idea is that we build those leaders, and hopefully they'll stay here in Grant County and maybe sit on this council someday, who knows. Hazard we talked about. I did put in there the top 5. So severe weather, fire explosion, cyber attack, hazardous materials, and utilities. We work with our utility companies very closely, particularly I&M. They are our biggest supplier of electricity to Grant County. And so there again, you see in the news occasionally about issues with the grid nationally. That is for real. And so working with our liaison from I&M, Grant County is really in a good position, better than a lot of the national ones because of where we sit in the grid. But we did have, actually Christmas Day 2 years ago, I got a call about 9 o'clock in the morning, Christmas Eve morning, that there was a threat that because it was super cold that day, it was below zero. The strain on the grid, they were concerned that everything from Chicago to DC was going to be taken out, and that would have affected us, or at least had rolling blackouts that day. So again, when the weather's that cold, that's a major deal. So we try to, there again, goes back to just trying to be ahead of whatever might be coming down the pipe for us. So with that, I've had some conversation with Mr. Millsworth. about restructuring our staff over at Grant County Emergency Management. Currently, we have one full-time director, me, have 2 part-time employees. I'd like to change that to 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time, really more of an on-call person. We would only need maybe that person if there's a big event in the county or we have to activate for some other reason. But doing some homework, we looked at a report from the Association of Indiana Counties. I've placed that in there. And using the 10 counties that really fall in line and are closely related to Grant County in terms of size, population, and those kind of things, is where I was able to get some of my data from. So most of the counties, actually the average in there has 2 full-time people and 1 part-time person. So we're asking to go to that type of schedule, and it does affect the budget. Why I bring it up here, we also need to get that approved through the commissioners as well, and I'll be speaking with them on Monday about this. So we looked at that, and one of the interesting things in that report, by the way, was I found school corporations. Grant County was the only one of the 10 in that thing that had 5 public school corporations. It was strange, but we do, and because of our land mass, we're spread out quite a bit too, so I've all that area to cover. The other thing with salaries, the average salary for those 50 counties is $60,309.50. My current salary is $52,805, so and I'm not asking for a big bump in that. I think personally I'm okay in what we're doing, and we certainly appreciate what you have provided for us in the past in the form of salary. But there again, I'd be happy to take any questions on any of that before we get into some of the line items.
Are you still receiving reimbursement?
Yes, actually in the next page. So the salary reimbursement, EMPG, which the state put some strings to that, but we met that. We just were approved, we haven't received it yet, I don't believe, but we were approved to receive $30,000 back in salary reimbursement.
Would if you was to have another full-time deputy director, could you receive
Yes.
reimbursement for it? What, should this be what percent or?
So it's based on county's population, so it's gonna be $30,000, providing the state keeps, there's no guarantee in that money, but if, right now, I don't see that changing in the near future. But yeah, we would still qualify for the same amount because it's based on population.
So it'd be like, you just receive 60,000 then?
No, it's 30,000
Total.
total.
I mean, that's 30,000, that's it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that goes back in the general fund?
Yes.
I know, we maybe talked a little bit about on the phone, there was that grant within the health department at some point your office was facilitating, and that was about 21,000 roughly.
The preparedness grant,
The preparedness grant.
25,000, I believe.
Yeah, currently that stays within the health department now.
Okay.
My part-time was doing that job until last year. I think that was changed. Mr. Bender does that job, and that stays within the health department now.
Okay. I was just thinking outside the box. I mean, that'd be another, offset of cost if,
Yes.
if you was to take that back, I guess. But if that'd be up to the health department to decide, correct?
It would be, yeah, we'd have to work with them on that. And some counties do that, and actually none of the counties that I'm aware of in the 10 that I use, but I know, for example, Rush County in District 6, their director is also the preparedness person for the county. But there again, I'd be happy to sit down with the health department if that makes sense to them. Help them any way we could there.
Do you know the majority EMA directors be the preparedness director?
The majority are not.
Majority are not.
Yeah, the majority are not. Rush County just happens to be a smaller county, and it works out, they're able to do that. And the thing is, the preparedness stuff, preparedness is one of my mission areas, so, you know, they're kind of piggybacking, not to take anything away from the health department by no means, but, they're piggyback off our plans anyway. Those, our two offices have to mesh. So it's one plan, and it falls into, all of that falls into the, Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, CEMP, which we just finalized. So all that preparedness stuff, comes right out of there. The other thing would be exercises, which there again, we do. Preparedness is there with us, so it's not a stretch either way.
Are there any other questions regarding the salary?
It did make, I think it added, by doing away with the other two positions and adding the full-time, I think the total bump in that was about $12,000. There again, I think the efficiency that would add to the office is well worth that. In the event that something happens to me, you know, the deputy director would be there to step in and take full control.
So does the part-time people that you're wanting to add, do they receive health insurance benefits or any of those?
Part-time, no.
You know?
The full-time, I think, does, and the full-time position, I talked to Justin about that. And I don't take any of those benefits, I already had everything before I came here, so.
Yeah, the request is for a full-time deputy director at the $48,000. And
Yes.
then the part-time operations chief would be at the $25 an hour, but it'd be a part-time position, and you probably just allocate the 14,000? Would you have, I'm asking you, because the way it's in the book.
Would you be paying them hourly?
So, yes, but there again, we kind of just capped it at 14,000, not knowing.
Yeah. Would it be, because it's gonna be part-time, would it be a specific person? Or would you just say, okay, we're gonna allow up to 14,000? And then it could be multiple people.
Right, so I do have two folks that, were on the roll prior, they're still volunteering for us, it shows the dedication that they have. There again, that we could, if I needed their expertise in whatever's going on, or if the EOC is active, a lot of times it's gonna take a lot of people. They would need to be out in the field or in the EOC with me.
I have no further questions. Angie, do you have any questions?
No, but, that $14,000 would make it about 11 hours worked a week. Does that make sense?
And there again, we know that a lot of times, you know, in a perfect world, I would never need it. But in the event that something happens, and again, I just try to keep them having to come back and ask for something. We've always been pretty good about working within our budget. I'm a stickler there, but and all the other line items, I don't believe I had any other changes this year.
If there's no questions regarding the EMA budget, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, regarding EMA, I move to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the EMA budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening.
Is the break program his
It's
too, or?
not, I think we've already done, hey, Bonnie, the grant,
Yes,
that's already been approved, hasn't it?
this year's EMPD, which actually we're in behind
No,
me.
no, the BIC, the brick program.
Oh, yes.
I thought it had been, I just didn't
Okay.
hold on to it.
Okay.
Just waiting for the invoices to pay that. Thank you.
Just want to carry on, do you need a break?
I'm good.
Okay, carry on. We'll go ahead and do your budget then.
Okay, for the salary portion, I asked for 7%. There was a slight or $1,000 increase to travel and conference. That's due just because everything, the increase of cost. The software support had a $10,000 increase, and that's based off of the LAO estimate for next year. I did raise that a little bit because, again, this is just an estimate. There will be additional costs that are on this for uploading W-2s to the dog delivery site. So there will be an additional cost for that. Everything else is stayed the same at this budget.
Are there any questions or comments from the members regarding the auditor's budget requests? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, regarding the auditor's 1,000,002 budget, move to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the auditor's budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the plat book.
The plat book salary portion, it offsets a little bit of salary to 3 of the employees. I will say that this might be the last year that we'll be able to do this. That fund is starting to get depleted, and the income to that has.
Explain the income to that fund.
This is a fee-driven fund for transfers. As deeds come in, there's a fee, and a portion of that fee goes into this fund.
When was the last time that you even looked
I
at
was
raising
thinking
those
about that
fees?
the other day. I am not sure. I'll have to go back through and look. It's been the same fee for quite a while. I did add a $500 to the travel and conference, where it's always been 0 in the past. Training and education stayed the same. I did remove the $1,500 for rental equipment. I have no idea what that was ever for. I'm not aware of ever having any equipment rented, so I don't know. It's never been spent, so we don't rent equipment, but.
Copiers?
No, that's all through IT.
Maybe it's like binder, something.
Well, no,
bind
we would
books
have
or-
paid for binding
Yeah.
to come in and do bind work. And we haven't done that process for years either. So I'm not sure what that was for.
Okay, if there's no questions regarding 1181, the plat book fund, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve 1181, the plat book fund, categories 2 and 3 as presented, noting that the 6/30 cash balance is $46,806. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the ineligible homestead fund.
The salary portion again, 7% increase. I stayed the same. I did away with the $5,000 contractual services. We've not really contracted out with anybody to research for IHFs for several years, so I don't see a need for that right now. Everything else has stayed the same. We do have a very healthy balance in that fund.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't somehow move plat book to.
Yeah. But we can I was able to transfer money from this fund last year, so.
To Flatwood?
Well,
No,
once it
to
hits
county
a-
general,
Once it gets a certain dollar amount in this fund, then it has to.
so I'll reevaluate it later in the year to see if I can do that again, so.
Yeah, what is that threshold? Do you remember?
I have it upstairs, I'm not sure.
Okay. And right now, you're saying that you're not contractually service with anyone
No.
to try to find the ones that are
Yeah.
not eligible? Okay.
We did that one time, tax management, I believe was the company that Roger had utilized. We have not done that since. I think our office does a very good job at researching, and we check a lot of different avenues to,
If there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
President move to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented for ineligible homestead, Fund 1216. Second.
A motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve 1216 ineligible homestead fund categories 2, 3, and 4, noting that the fund balance currently as of 6/30 is $446,123. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Would you like to do the commitment of council's budget
I
for me,
can.
please?
I did ask for a 7% increase for the salaries. We've already approved the developmental center, Carry Services, mental health was earlier, Brent Blackbird. There is an increase to the portion that the county general will pick up of E911 principal for the lease of equipment to offset the amount that is paid through the E911 fund. I did not put anything in for ECR Regional because I believe that was a one-time agreement, so I just left that at 0. But everything else,
We paid Marion's, but
Yes.
ours should have been in there, or is that gonna be paid out of the commissioner's budget? We're still paying for the
that is
county's.
part of, are you talking about the lit portion? This was the one-time payment that we paid to the city of Marion.
Okay, it didn't include the county's payment, it's being paid out of lit?
Yes, it's paid out of lit.
Okay. And then we could probably take off the central dispatch loan, the 2 principals. 'Cause we
Yeah,
paid them off from years ago, right?
Yeah, it just reflects as a prior expenditure.
Are there any questions regarding the council's budget request? Do we typically approve this one? Or do we approve it at the special meeting? We always approve it tonight? Okay. If there's no comments or questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, move to approve the council budget, categories 2 and 3 as presented by the auditor.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve 061, the council's budget, categories 2 and 3 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We could have added a promotional line item. You know, logos or something. Shirts for our shirt night.
Yeah, you should.
Can't do that though. buy them out of your own monies, right? I believe that concludes.
Yeah.
We gotta do what, raid debt service, rainy day?
Lit.
Do you wanna go ahead and talk about lit?
So, the amount for lit and the insurance this year is gonna be $1,786,000. That would be the contribution to the health insurance fund. And the ECI would stay the same at 14,000. And you can approve both of these if you want.
Are there any questions regarding 11, 12? There's no questions, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve 11, 12, the lit fund as presented, categories, the budget in its entirety, but it'd be 1 and 3. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input?
Question. I can't let it go through the whole evening without asking one when you ask for public.
Well, come up here and
What's the acronym stand for? LIT?
local option income.
It's not optional.
Well,
It's
local income tax, sorry.
Local income tax.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking. Is there, then I will ask another question. Is there any anticipation of the local income tax board being convened this year?
No. No. As far as this body, in July, we reviewed and we decided not to make any recommendations. Now, as far as the other units of government could, but this body did not make any recommendations.
I'm not aware of any other bodies.
To my knowledge, I don't think, since I've been on the council, that any of the other bodies have ever brought a change forth to this body.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Any other public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the rainy day fund. 1186, zero. We'll go ahead and approve it as well. At zero.
You don't even have to take any action on it. We haven't had a budget in here for several years. I just put it in as a
Okay, current balance as of 6:30 is 103,791. Do you believe that to be correct?
It
Is it something we should consider putting money into for emergency purposes?
Well, we do have the disaster fund, but you're talking different type of emergencies, aren't you? I do have literature upstairs regarding the process for transferring funds to the rainy day. Be more than happy to share that with you.
Yeah, I think during that special budget session, maybe we should talk a little bit about that if
We can.
Jim wants to.
It is generally done through, it's either a resolution or an ordinance.
Have you spent any time with that?
It's been a while, it has been a while,
I
but I do have a,
Do you know, is it typically just like a lump sum that would be transferred into it? Is there a mechanism in place where like a certain percentage of anything in excess would go to, you know what I'm saying?
there is a calculation method. It has something to do with the county general budget and the remainder of that budget that hadn't been spent the prior year.
Okay.
There's a math calculation to that, yes.
Yeah, and certain counties have adopted that method and some haven't, obviously. And
It's lower
reached,
than that, yeah.
I mean, at that, well, a few months ago, you reached out to the other units
Yes.
to find out what they were doing with their rainy day. And yeah, I think that'd be probably some good information to add to the special meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, good question, Mike. We'll move on to 1217, elected official training.
This is a fee-driven fund. It is for as it says, elected official training only, doesn't pay for any chiefs or any additional employees out of these offices. And I've left the requested amount the same as the prior years.
So when they ask for training in the regular budget, does this come into play with any of that?
Usually if they are part of the elected official training fund, the portion that's paid out of the other budget is for the employees that go, like the chief deputies or
Somebody
any other employee.
whatever that is.
Right, this is just for the.
Okay, that makes sense. I just want to make. And it's got 72,482.
Some of these elected officials don't utilize these funds because they don't, partake in conferences. So it just sits there. And that's the only thing this can be used for.
There's no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve the 1217 elected official training fund in its entirety, and noting that the balance as of 6/30 is $72,482. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You may make aware like the new auditor,
Treasurer?
the new
Yes,
treasurer, that she, any training.
I think she's already went to the conference.
Okay.
So I need to pull those claims to see where they were paid from and make corrections if necessary.
Yep, good idea. Next fund before us is the 4,600 debt service fund.
We're down to one debt. The 2017 facility improvement bond. And there's 2 payments made for the year, and this is the reflection of those payments.
And the unpaid bond amounts $8,505,000, is that correct?
No. The unpaid balance at this time, including interest, is 8.26 million. Yeah.
The jail, correct?
No, it's
This
a
is
combination.
It's a combination of the facilities.
Well, basically,
Yes.
both these are.
It was a majority
energy.
of jail.
Yeah. I don't have the scope of work that was done. The commissioners would have that.
I was just sitting here thinking that if we did end up building a new jail, we're gonna be paying on a bond that we're not even using.
Yeah, and it's a payoff in 2037.
Doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Better you're gonna pay it off and refinance it, so all your debt goes together, which is probably more likely.
Right.
Which then you're gonna have a higher interest rate than this bond, I know that.
I'm sure that was all taken into consideration though.
Interest rates right now are still too high to do anything, really.
They will be coming down, though, they say.
Very slowly.
They'll go down slower than they can.
Well, I guarantee it, because they said today the GDP was at 3%. So that means your inflation numbers at 3%. That's higher than they want. Sorry, Shane, go ahead.
You're fine. You're fine. Are there any questions or comments from the members regarding the debt service fund? Would you like us to take action on this fund as well? Is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Poling, a second from Mr. Scott to approve Fund 4600, the debt service fund as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I believe that's all of them.
Before October 2nd, meeting, the special session. Is there any special requests for the meeting that we would like to see? And no, there are tablings, so I'm asking about.
You know, like the council
Raises
gets $20,000 instead of.
Tap dance?
Tap dance, yeah.
You said 20, I said 100.
Oh, okay. I don't know. You use 7% and some use 5, and you're like, how do you come up with the middle of the road to see those? Just you play with the figures in there to see what that looks like.
I'm also doing a comparison. I will be contacting those counties tomorrow to find out what you would question.
You're doing that? I thought Judge was doing it.
Oh, no, I started this project well before he did.
Okay.
We'll get to answer quicker.
But I will find out, from the other counties, there's several more.
Well, I'm more curious, like, 'cause so we had that conversation before we ever started, right? You were here for over 20 years, so you've been a part of that and seen it through the years. I'm just curious if the other counties did things like that, or if it was just, it's just.
Well, I do know that our county was very proactive years ago and being very frugal with our money and, general fund dollars. So they didn't allot for raises. They did give us the 3% with the PER, where other counties didn't take that initiative. They waited. But.
So we're still playing catch up, basically.
We're still playing catch up.
Yeah, I think that what we've discussed will be fine as far as the comparisons and, this comparison benefits as well. I know it'll be tough to figure out the insurance piece.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to go about the insurance to see how to compare, what they have and what we have. I do know that the commissioners, well, not the commissioners, but Justin had mentioned to me increasing the employee withholdings for next year, because it's been a while since they've done that. I don't know why, when the fund is very healthy, so I'm not sure why they think our withholding is.
Yeah, I know Mr. McCourt and I did talk, as far as the health insurance piece, probably will go, I think everyone has heard his recommendation. I think it was 17.5.
17.5 is what we had discussed.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good number to approve in that special meeting. And then you'll do the typical, whatever, 1% raises, 2% sheet.
We're just doing 1%. That's always very helpful. If I want to consider 5%, I'll just multiply it by 5. But giving that every year, I think, is extremely helpful. You to do that for us. So, yeah, if you could do that, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
I guess the council will have to decide if we want to do percentage or we want to do.
Yeah, so Tara that asked for a straight line number.
So if you can recall last year, during the budget process, we brought elected officials and chief deputies up to a more reasonable pay as far as a big bump. I think the goal is this year, at least my personal goal, is to look at the other employees and to see, where we're out of line compared to the other counties. I think it's gonna be interesting to see that, so it may be a combination of both. Obviously, we know the request from the judges is a little different.
Right.
I think it's gonna be interesting to see how this body wants to, if they want to tackle that or not.
So how many total full-time employees do we have? Do you know that number off the top of your head?
Like 311, maybe?
Yeah, it's just over 300, because I remember we talked about that when we did the sheriff's contract, and I came back to it earlier. It was like 305 back then.
Yeah, so the committee needs to meet with Bruce Elliott between now and then as well.
If you want to schedule that, we can meet in the office again like we did last year. That worked well.
All right, is there any Other comments for the good of the order? Public input? Public comments?
Not at this time.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
I think we've ever had just one public.
Meeting adjourned.